Good morning. If we can get ourselves settled. It is wonderful to see this space as full as it is, and good morning upper school community, and good morning and welcome to our friends from the middle school. It's great to have you here, and of course to our special guests and visitors today. Welcome to Benjamin Hall and to the Benjamin School. We're really happy to have you here for what is an incredibly momentous event here in Benjamin Hall's brief history. We've been gifted today with the incredible opportunity to be part of living history. Today's performance of Violins of Hope is a link to long-standing traditions, beautiful celebrations, beautiful art, and beautiful families. But the violins that we will hear today have also borne witness to the Holocaust and to the very worst of what humans can do to one another. And each of these instruments has its own uniquely tragic and, more importantly, uniquely inspiring story to tell. History, as some of you know, having taken history classes, social studies classes, can often be seen on perhaps too large a level. It's a mass of facts and timelines and theories that can overwhelm us. And that fact is in itself a tragedy of sorts, because history is nothing more than the sum total of billions of small stories, out of which emerges our collective story. Often seeing the one story, or as British Romantic poet William Blake put it, seeing the universe in a grain of sand, is enough to teach us the big story. And today we have not only the living history represented in the beautiful violins of the Violins of Hope collection, but we're also able to welcome to our community living history embodied in a special guest today, Mr. Aaron Bell, who survived the Holocaust. Mr. Bell, if you could stand, we'd love to welcome you. From the entire Benjamin School community, I extend our warmest and most humble welcome to you. Thank you for being here today, Mr. Bell, and for bearing witness all these years, and for helping us to do the same today through the arts. One of my favorite quotes about the power of the arts comes appropriately enough from the decade of the 1940s, a time when art and the ideas about what constituted art changed radically as global populations recovered from the massive trauma of World War II. During this time, art became an outlet for many of the displaced and battered souls around the globe. A noted theologian at this time, Thomas Merton, whose writings inspired millions recovering from these experiences of loss and trauma, wrote, "Art enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time." I think that the notion of losing oneself in art, and as a result, finding oneself through art, is a perfect reflection of the importance of this program, and on the importance of the arts in any period of human history. Before I introduce the driving force behind today's event here, I want to thank both the students in the Jewish Student Union Club here at Benjamin at the upper school, and particularly the club's advisor, Mrs. August. Is she here? I know she's here. Where are you, Mrs. August? There you go, front row. For your incredible efforts to bring this performance here. Secondary schools do not often host Violins of Hope, so this is a real honor indeed. And now, if I could, I'd like to invite Jennifer Romanoff, the Director for Private School Jewish Student Unions in Florida, and the driving force behind this event, to get us started this morning. Jennifer, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. A little short? Okay. Hi, thank you so much. I am Jennifer Romanoff, as Mr. Carr-Fletcher said, and I'm the director of the private school Jewish Student Union clubs, including the Benjamin from all the way up here down to Gulliver Prep down in Miami. I am so excited to be here today, and we're so grateful to all the people at the Benjamin there are so many people that work together to put this event here and make it as beautiful and as big as it is. So thank you to every single one of you who helped make this possible. So I just want to give a shout out again to Mr. Aaron Bell, who is here with us today. He helped 1,200 Jews escape Nazi Germany. You may have heard this story or even seen it in a Hollywood film, the film Defiance. You could raise your hand if you've seen or heard of the film Defiance before. Okay, so if you haven't seen it or heard of it, you should definitely look it up and watch it. He's here with us today, one of the youngest brothers, so thank you so much for being here. We're so excited. And Henrika, too, his wife, thank you for being with us today. So I'd also like to especially, oh, here we go. I'd also like to especially recognize Daniel and Selma Weiss, who are lay leaders in the community and our audience who are passionate about the Jewish community and especially Israel. And lastly, I'd like to recognize Richard Hirsch, who has taken it upon himself to promote the education of the Holocaust and fighting anti-Semitism, specifically in high schools in Palm Beach County. Through his vision and generosity, he's made it possible for JSU to have a presence in 10 public and private schools in this area. Mr. Hirsch's newest initiative, the JSU Tolerance and Ambassador Fellowship, has made Holocaust studies an integral component of JSU and made this morning's program possible. So please stand up, Mr. Richard Hirsch, to be recognized. Thank you. So at this point, I'd like to welcome a few people on stage who are the key partners with us directly here in the school at the Benjamin JSU, which is the Jewish Student Union. So just come up after I call out the names. So first to Mrs. Linda August, the JSU Club representative. And then we have the board, Jason Blum, Francisco Barros, Andrew Schwartz, and Caroline Moody. Come on up. I don't know if Andrew's here. Okay, so these are the people to find if you'd like to get more involved in JSU, which you'll learn a little bit more about, so I wanted to call all of them up. Caroline is going to say a few words on behalf of the board, so Caroline, come on up.
Good morning, everyone. As Jennifer said, my name is Caroline Moody, and I'm one of the officers of the Jewish Student Union here at Benjamin. A little bit about JSU. We meet twice a month to discuss a variety of Jewish-related topics. We also celebrate upcoming holidays, discuss U.S.-Israeli relations, and perhaps most importantly, we connect not only with each other, but also with our shared heritage. But as the diverse members of JSU will tell you, you don't have to be ethnically Jewish to participate and celebrate our culture. All, regardless of their backgrounds, are always welcome to attend, learn about the culture, and enjoy the food. JSU can also offer you incredible volunteering and leadership opportunities. Through JSU, for example, I've had the remarkable opportunity to meet with New York Congressman Eliot Engel at a pro-Israel conference. And of course, JSU has also brought us this incredible opportunity today to remember the Holocaust through the beautiful music of restored Holocaust violins. As their melodies fill this hall, think of the 3.5 million Jewish men, women, and children who needed this music to survive. But also think of the 6 million Jews and 11 million others who'll never dance to its harmonies again. I don't intend to sadden you with these words, rather the opposite. I wish only to remind you all and myself to be eternally grateful for when and where we were born. To remember the past, not so that we dwell upon it, but so that we learn and grow from it, so that we are better than those before us, so that we never let this happen again. I hope that today will inspire many of you to get involved in JSU or clubs alike that take aim to bridge the gap between seemingly divergent groups of people to join together in making the world a better place. With that, I'll turn the podium back to Jennifer.
Wonderful. So I heard a story about a baker who lived in an old European Jewish community, a small village. And this baker used to walk through the forest sometimes on his way to work. And one time as he was walking, he heard music playing in the forest, and he really liked what he was hearing. So he followed the music and found this group of musicians just playing this beautiful melody in the forest. He really, really loved it. And he said to them, I'm going to pay you to teach me this melody. I'm going to pay you. I want to learn it. I love it so much. Please teach it to me. So they agreed, and he learned the melody, and he was so happy, and he went to work that day, normal day, then came home, and he realized when he got home, he actually forgot the melody that he learned that morning. So he thought, okay, this is one of those things where, it's going to come to me, it's a melody, it'll come back to me at some point. But as a few weeks went by, he never remembered the melody. So he decided he had to go back to the forest and try to find those people again. So he was walking through the forest a few times, and finally he stumbled upon this group of musicians playing in the forest again. And he learned the melody again. And he vowed this time that he was never, ever going to forget this melody. And the way that he was going to do that is he was going to sing it over and over and over again. And that's what he did. He left the forest singing this beautiful melody. And he kept on singing. And his friends and his family started to think something was a little off. This guy is nonstop singing. Maybe he's overworked, maybe he's stressed, maybe there's something wrong. But the guy just didn't stop singing, and he wouldn't answer to these people when they were asking him, why are you still singing? So the community in the village got together, and they said, you know what? We're going to send you off for a vacation. Looks like you need to be away from here. Maybe your work is stressing your family. We're going to send you off. And he kept on singing. So as they were packing up his carriage with his stuff, and they put him on, and he was still singing, there was a little boy that was helping pack the carriage. And this little boy started to sing the melody that this man was singing, the baker was singing. And at that moment, the baker stopped, and he smiled. And it took a second for people to realize, but the people of the village said, wait, now? Why are you stopping now? You've been singing forever, and now you just stop out of nowhere. What happened? What's going on? And he said, a child has learned the melody, and now I know that the melody won't die. So now I know that it will continue, and I could stop singing. So as Caroline mentioned so eloquently before, it's our job to really seek out ways to make the world a better place. When you will be inspired by what you're about to hear, it's your job to take that inspiration and to make it something real. Anti-Semitism is on the rise in the world right now. I don't have to tell you. I'm sure you see it in the news. And as the next upcoming generation, it will be your job to stand up to it if you ever come across it. If that's something that scares you or maybe even inspires you, I challenge you to either get more involved in JSU and learn more about the Jewish culture to become more confident and inspired, or take advantage of the other opportunities that we offer, or get involved in some of the various other organizations that, just like JSU, empower you to be the best version of yourselves. It is you who get the privilege to be here today at this inspiring event. And then it will be your job to continue to sing and learn and pass on that song to the next generation. So with that, I call up Gary Levinson, who is the Senior Principal Associate Concertmaster of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra and the Artistic Director of the Chamber Music Society of Fort Worth. Gary has taken it upon himself to do this special educational event because of how much he truly cares about teaching and making a difference for students like you. So we're so privileged to have you, Gary, and please come up and start the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer. Don't go away. Thank you very much. I am thrilled to be here with the Emery String Quartet. They're an incredible group. We've all driven here from Miami, having gotten up at a very early hour, which you do all the time, because this is really a very important morning. It's a very important subject, and I think it needs to be addressed. The violin I hold in my hand has gone through the Holocaust. The two violinists that you see on stage, here on stage right, also have violins of hope. And these violins I'll tell you about through this morning. But basically our message is that this is not a historical thing. This is a real thing, and as Jennifer said, it's something that is out there today, any kind of discrimination. These violins represent the ability of men and women to overcome discrimination and death, because it's really worth doing. So what we'd like to do is to start with the anthems, and Jennifer will tell you which ones they are.
So if everyone could please stand, we're going to say the national anthem, and then we're also going to say the Israeli anthem, the Hatikva.
So we would like to begin with a piece by Victor Cohn, who is unfortunately not well known in today's day and age, and there's an excellent reason for that. He was one of the prisoners at the concentration camps, and he unfortunately died there. And the important thing for you to know is when the Nazis took people into concentration camps, they didn't really much care about what their job was. So whether you were a welder, a composer, a philosopher, and not necessarily only Jews, they pretty much herded people in a very I would say in a very organized manner, all too organized. And for the people who lived in those camps and worked in those camps, music was pretty much the only way for them to have some humanity. So if you look at the violin I have in front of me, and I'll tell you more about it in a moment, it has a big Jewish star here, and the area on the sides, which is called the purfling, is inlaid. Like as I said, I'll tell you more about the actual instrument, but the preludium we're about to play is, well, let me tell you what a prelude is. A prelude is just like the word says, it's a prelude to something, it's an opening. However, this prelude is a very emotionally charged work, and I think in many ways it's defiant of the area in his life and the knowledge that every day could have been his last. So this music is much less about entertainment as it is more about the cohesiveness of the people that were around him and the survival, how to get life to really be meaningful without being afraid all the time. So this is a defiant work, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. The next work we're going to play for you is an arrangement of the theme from Schindler's List. Some of you may not have seen this film, but I have a very personal connection to it because when I was on tour with my old orchestra, the New York Philharmonic, in Poland, I visited both Birkenau and Auschwitz, and at the same time, they were filming Schindler's List. So I actually saw some of the set because I knew some people there. And the film, of course, is a seminal film that I highly recommend all of you see. It's one of the very greatest, and certainly the film score by John Williams is one of the very greatest film scores ever written. It's very indicative of the beauty of human spirit, and also the metamorphosis, if you will, of certain Nazi soldiers. So I think it's a very important film, and this music is really quite blissful and gorgeous. So I hope you enjoy it, and this is Schindler's List film music theme. Thank you very much. I promised to tell you something about this violin. As I said, we have 3 violins from the Holocaust here. And this violin especially is quite beautiful. But what you should know is that none of these violins originally, before they made it to concentration camps, were built to be fantastic instruments. They were tools of the trade. Most of the people that played this were just playing weddings. I mean, they were, I don't want to say just, but I mean, they were not necessarily concert violinists or violists. I mean, they were people who just made a living with the instrument because the society in the 30s and 40s, you have to understand, was not nearly as automated as a society today. No computers, very few telephones, no television. So what did you do after you came home from work? I mean, generally you would have dinner with your family and you would make music in the living room. So most people had a piano of some sort and the string instrument, which in some ways, I think every Jew will to say the violin is the Jewish instrument. So is actually the clarinet. But I mean, a lot of the klezmer bands really were the ones that used these kinds of instruments both for their work, their livelihood, but also for home entertainment and to bring people together. So this violin is spectacular in many ways, especially because it was restored. We're going to see a film in about a few minutes about the restoration of this from the Weinstein family, who have dedicated their whole life, in fact, 3 generations of their families dedicated to restoring the violins of hope. But the important thing is that this particular violin was the foundation of the Palestine orchestra, which is now known as the Israel Philharmonic. And it was founded by Bronislaw Huberman, the great Polish violinist, who in many ways rescued a lot of Jews after the war that survived and really didn't have the ability to either make a living or really even reunite with their own families. So this violin was one of the very first to be in the Israel Philharmonic, then known as the Palestine Orchestra. The one Misha plays over here as well made it through 6 years of travel from Germany to Haifa. So at this time, let's see the film about Violins of Hope and meet Amnon Weinstein, the man who is presently behind this project, restoring these incredible violins. You can see how beautiful they sound and look, and he's really the person who did it.
One day came to me a guy, he played on the way to the chamber, gas chamber. He stopped playing after the war, and as he has a grandchild, he wanted to repair the violin that he will play. I opened the violin. I remember there was inside black powder because he was playing beside the crematorium and beside all these horrible places. And I asked him questions, and he told me about what happened there. He told me that people that played, they've seen the family going to the gas chamber. So through the violin, they were going together with them. They could not pray. The violin prayed for them. After the war, when all the atrocities that happened in Germany, in Poland, in other places arrived to Israel, this is the most difficult time of my life. When I asked my mother, where is my grandfather, where is my grandmother, where is my aunts, where all the family, she used to take a book of Vilna to show me the Ponar forests where they killed all the Jewish people, 80,000 people, and say, here is your family. My father, when he learned what happened to his family, how he lost about 400 people, he never spoke again about the Holocaust, never. When the war ended, my father was the head of the Vilna Association in Israel. So many of the new immigrants who survived and escaped came to our house for the first day in Israel. Nobody wanted to play on a German instrument. Nobody wanted to touch it anymore. So they came to my father and said to him, if you are not buying this violin, I'm breaking it or burn it. And for my father, this was sacrilege. And he bought every instrument that people bring it to him, and he knew 100% he can never sell it again. He could not fix it, but he could not throw it away.
Amnon's spirit is expressed in the way he works. He brings the violin more to life than they were originally made for. He calls me sometimes and says, listen, there are those two sisters who came here, old ladies, who buried the violin in Holland underground and took it out after the war. And they brought me that violin. I'm going to bring it back to life.
The Holocaust is a story of death, but the Holocaust is also a story of hope, because many people survive. And the music was a part of it. When you know all the stories of the violin, you find that many violins brought hope with them. People that know to play very well and know to speak through the violin can tell you all the stories of the world. Each violin like this is a Jewish violin 100%. So we're buying every violin like this or getting a gift every violin like this. We are restoring the violin, so now when you hear the violin again, he can pray. And if he can pray, he's talking for these people.
If you think about it, just over 70 years ago, Jewish people were not allowed to play. Only in camps, under the most terrible conditions. Today, we take these instruments to the biggest stages in the world.
Look, the Nazis are not anymore. The violins, they are. And the violin are playing. And when they are playing, it is victory. And when it is victory, you cannot take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amnon Weinstein.
So that is a short story of Amnon Weinstein, and I will tell you the violin you saw is very similar to the violins that we're playing here. The only thing you should really know is that the violins were not in great shape to begin with, and then when he received them, they were really beaten up. They were not taken care of. You know, the wood here is maple and spruce, so it does need some humidity, and it was painstakingly restored. And as you can hear in his violin and the ones that we're playing today, they're in really great shape. So for the last work this morning, I would like the quartet to play a wonderful work, two short actually movements from a string quartet by Edwin Schulhoff, who was a Holocaust composer, and he's a German with really a Czech background, so you'll probably hear some Slavic music here, even though his name is German. And then maybe after that, if there's a few questions, we would be happy to answer them. So enjoy the quartet, please. Thank you so very much for being here. I hope that the music and the stories have inspired you to look into this some more. It's not just living history, it's something that's applicable today, and it's something that I hope that you will take back to your families and really speak to them about what we did this morning. So if anyone has any questions for me or for the quartet, I would love to talk to you. Yes, sir.
The violin that was being played in the video by the virtuoso playing the Tikva, national anthem.
Hagai Shaham, yes.
That's the gentleman. Is that the same violin that you're holding?
I was going to explain that. No, it's not the same violin, but it does have the Star of David. And the reason I know that is his violin not only has this Star of David in the back, but also on the sides. If you look at it carefully, there's a Star of David here, which this one does not have. So I don't know that they're necessarily related. I mean, they're probably from the same area of Europe, but not necessarily the same area of Germany.
Not only does it make beautiful music, it speaks eloquently about the connection between the state of Israel and the Holocaust.
Absolutely.
You know, I think it's a very profound message that is exemplified by him playing that song on that instrument.
Exactly. Thank you very much. One more? Maybe from one of the students? No, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, I want to tell you the violin that is coming from our family. The Amen is my husband, brother, son-in-law.
Wow.
And the lady who speaks, this is my husband, niece. We know them since Holocaust. We know they do this.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being here. And, you know, no words can really express how much it means for us to make music for you, because it is the one language that unites all those generations and will for the future generations. So bravo to all of you, and thank you for being here. From one of the students, maybe? Thank you. One question from the students. Yes?
Have these violins been refurbished by the Weinsteins?
Yes, all of them. Refurbished is an interesting word. I would say they were practically rebuilt, because, as I said, the wood is not an easy girlfriend. I mean, sometimes it just does not cooperate. And I know that this violin, for example, was probably restored for 3 or 4 years. It would have been easier to build a new one, but as he said, it's really not about making a great instrument. It's about this voice, which will continue through the generations, and the people that played this, even though they're not with us today, they will never be silenced. And your generation, as well as ours, need to unite and be people of action, rather than just tweeting or talking about it. We really need to be action-oriented and do the things that are necessary to say that we are, in fact, all together united in anti-discrimination, anti-Semitism, and not letting things just sort of slide by. Okay? Thank you guys very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you all for coming to this great performance. And if you would like to get more involved in JSU and our activities, fill out one of these cards. And on your way out, take a card, fill it out, and then drop it in one of the boxes where the fellow JSU members are by the doors. And thank you and have a nice day.